This is San Francisco, as it looks from Telegraph Hill. And this is the house on Telegraph Hill, where I once thought I would find peace and contentment. This is how it looks today, but my story begins 11 years ago, and 7,000 miles away in another house near Warsaw, in my native Poland. My name is Victoria Kowalska, and this was my home. It looked like this in 1939, when my husband came home on leave. And this is what was left after the Germans had passed. In one stroke, I had lost my husband, my home, everything I held dear, and had become one of the thousands of miserable strays who were herded into prisons and concentration camps. How the will to live survives in a place like Belsen, I do not know. But I wanted to live. I was determined to. And I was just as determined that my friend Karin Dernakova should live too. I had met Karin, a fellow countrywoman, in the camp. But she was sick and frail, too frail for the life of that camp. And she had more to live for than most of us. Her infant son had been smuggled out of Poland just before the war to an aunt in San Francisco. And if she ever lived through this, she would join them.
Just think, Vicky, he's talking and walking by now. And if he would see me, he wouldn't even know me.
Please, Karin, you must eat. You must keep up your strength.
It's the use, Vicky. I'll never get out of here. I'll never see my Christopher again.
Let go! You dirty hypocrite. You don't care about her any more than I do. You only stick to her like a leech because she has rich relatives in America. Oh, you think she's going to take care of you when we get out of here? She'll never get out of here alive. None of us will ever get out of here alive.
Karin, we are going to get out. We are. Eat your food.
You will come to America with me, Vicky, won't you? Aunt Sophie has a big house on the hill. She lives there, alone with my Christopher. She will be glad if I bring you because you've helped me so much.
Karin. Karin was my friend, and I fought for her survival as I fought for my own. But in the end, I was beaten. I had done everything I could for her. I stole food, medicine, and I fought off the others. I had tried to keep her mind filled only with thoughts of her son and her aunt. But with the German army on the run and liberation only days away, Karin Dernakova and our dreams of America lay on the cold floor of Belsen. All of Karin's identification was in that bundle. Her aunt had not seen her since she was a little girl. I knew as much about Karin's life as about my own. Why not? Why shouldn't I be Karin Dernakova? 3 days later, I came before the liberators.
Sie sind der Nächste. Setzen Sie sich doch hin. Ihr Name bitte? Ihr Name bitte?
Karin Dernakova.
Haben Sie irgendwelche Papiere?
She's scared to death. Tell her we're her friends, that we want to help her find her home, her family.
Yes, sir. Wir sind Ihre Freunde. Wir wollen Ihnen helfen, um Ihre Familie, Ihre Verwandten zu finden.
Oh.
Get some water. Here. Drink. Tell her not to be afraid that nobody's going to hurt her.
Haben Sie doch keine Angst. Keiner will Ihnen wehtun.
That's better.
I'm all right now.
You speak English?
A little. I learned it at school. I'm sorry to make you all this trouble.
You make us all the trouble you want. Yell if you'd like to. You're entitled to it.
Some more of the same stuff, sir.
You're from Warsaw?
Yes.
Well, you'll want to go back home as soon as possible, I suppose.
I have no home. It was destroyed.
No, I meant back to your family.
No family left in Poland. My parents were killed, my husband also.
I'm sorry. In other words, you don't want to be repatriated.
Oh, no. Poland does not exist anymore for me. If you force me to go back...
We're here to help people, not to force anybody to do anything. I feel I should explain, though, that the alternative is a camp for displaced persons. I'm afraid that isn't a permanent solution either. Do you have any idea what you would like to do?
Oh, I will take care of myself somehow.
I guess that's all for now.
Thank you, Major. You're very kind.
Just a minute. This must have fallen out of your bundle. It belongs to a Victoria Kobelska. Who is she?
She's dead.
Well, how do you happen to have this?
She was my friend. We kept our things together. She would not need this anymore. So now, for better or for worse, I was Karen Dernakova. I was soon transferred to a displaced persons camp. The moment I arrived there, I sent a cable to Aunt Sophie in America and signed Karen's name to it. The answer came in a few days. Karen Dernakova.
Dernakova?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Here it is. Just came across from the message center. I'll read it for you. Your cable addressed to Mrs. John Albertson forwarded to us. Advise addressee deceased. Deceased means the person's dead. Exhaustive search revealed all known relatives abroad dead. Address all further communications to our Eastern representative, Joseph C. Callahan, attorney, New York City. Signed Bennett, Compton, and Maxwell, attorneys for the Albertson estate. I'll make a copy for you.
And that was my answer. A cable from an unknown lawyer in the unattainable city of New York. And my hopes gone with that cable. In that moment, I nearly gave up. But I had lived with my dream too long, and the idea of getting to America had become an obsession. When the day finally came for me to join hundreds of others and go aboard the United Nations refugee ship, we could hardly believe it. We had spent the 4 long years since the end of the war in waiting, hoping, and praying. Now we were actually sailing, and we moved doubtfully, fearful that at the last moment we might be snatched back. But on that day in 1950, when I reached New York and found my way to the office of the lawyer who had sent me the cable, I knew that I would never let anything send me back.
Mrs. Dernakova, when you gave up your child almost 9 years ago...
I did not give him up. He was sent to America to save his life.
Nevertheless, the fact remains that others, not you, have taken care of the boy since he was an infant.
It wasn't my fault that I wasn't able to come here years ago to take care of him.
You know, of course, that After Mrs. Albertson's death, Mr. Spender adopted the boy.
But he had no right to do that while the child's mother was still alive.
We had every reason to believe that you were dead. All the reports indicated it.
As a matter of fact, there is still some doubt.
But you have seen my papers. What more proof do you want?
My dear madam, you must realize that there is a considerable fortune involved here.
I think you are the one who realizes it more than I.
Mrs. Denockova, the law is on our side. Your aunt, I mean the late Mrs. Albertson, left the estate to the boy with Mr. Spender as guardian.
It is true that the law, as you say, is on your side. I am in a strange country and I'm alone. But I have a feeling that here in some way I will find justice. I don't care how long it takes. I will fight for what belongs to me. And I will never let you keep my son from me.
I think you're being hasty. We might be prepared to settle this on some reasonable basis.
Just a minute, Callahan. Mrs. Denockova.
Yes?
I'm sorry to have put you through this ordeal, but you see, I had to be positive. I'm sure you'll agree there's Chris to consider, too. And if we both started there, unselfishly, we might find some solution to this problem, without lawyers. What's the matter? Don't you like our food?
Oh, yes. But I'm still upset. Your lawyer is so very efficient.
Oh, forget about him. Let's talk about you. I didn't know I had such a beautiful relative in Poland.
What?
Oh, don't look so surprised. Aunt Sophie was related to me, too. By marriage.
If she were alive, I would have been with her long ago. I sent her a cable.
Yes, I know.
You know?
Well, look, let me explain. You and your husband had been reported dead years before. My lawyer was convinced we were dealing with an imposter. We never heard from you again. That only served to confirm our original suspicions. If only you'd tried again, written or wired or anything.
Well, I didn't know what to do, where to turn. I felt so lost.
Well, you've got to forget all that now. Think of the future. And Chris. You'll be proud of him.
Tell me about him. What does he look like?
Well, he's a very good-looking boy, I think. He resembles you in some ways. Has your eyes and that same stubborn chin.
When he was a baby, everybody said he'd look more like his father. When am I going to see him?
He won't be back from school for 2 weeks. I plan to stay in New York on business. Look, why don't you wait and come to San Francisco with me? I'm sure you could use the time yourself. Shopping, for example.
Shopping? But I have no money.
You have now.
This is what I had dreamed about, like the days back home in Poland before the war. The feel of silk on my skin again. What do you think?
It's lovely.
Yes, but I'm afraid it's also very expensive.
Don't worry about that. After all, I'm still Chris's guardian. I'm sure he'd want his mother to look her best.
All right, then. Do you like it?
It's beautiful.
I just have to put my shoe on and I'm ready.
May I help you?
I make no excuse. I felt Alan was attracted to me, and I was prepared to take advantage of it. Was I in love with him? I don't know. But I did know that the best way for me to be safe was to be married to an American.